Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Mr. Kadim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, Kuwait University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 15 of the subject of software engineering, in which we are going to discuss the extreme programming. Dear student, extreme programming is the software development life cycle model as like the waterfall model, incremental model, prototyping model and the spiral model. But extreme programming model is a much agile and efficient way of software development. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of extreme programming, values of extreme programming, which includes communication, simplicity, feedback, courage and respect. And then we have the XP process model, and then we have the XP process model diagrammatical representation, and at the end we have XP applicability. Now, extreme programming is the most widely used approach to us in agile software development. Here, the agile means that it is very efficient way of software development, because extreme programming doesn't consider the voluminous documentation and some useless activities. So extreme programming is a very efficient way of software development. Extreme programming has been first proposed in the late 1980s, but most of the work has been done by the Kind back in 1999. And the most recent variant of the XP model is called Industrial IXP, so which has been proposed by Kerr in 2005. XP refines XP and targets the agile process specifically for use within the large organization. So the XP process models, which is refined now, and this is also used in a very large software development organization to develop the huge softwares. Very much importantly, XP has different sort of the values. So the values are in fact foundations for the XP model. So there are set of 5 different values which acts as a foundation for the all works performed as a part of the XP, and these values are communication, simplicity, feedback, courage and respect. So these all values are act as a drivers for the specific XP activities, action and tasks. So here the actions, tasks or activities are in fact different phases of the XP model. Now we are going to discuss each and every one in the detail. Number 1, communication. Basically, communication is in fact a link of discussion or the media of the discussion of different stakeholders. So in the communication, the XP model use different sort of the media such as the informal meetings, etc. Mostly they are the verbal meetings for communication purpose. So XP emphasizes on informal, that is the verbal collaboration between the customer and the developers. So that is informal because most of our customers are not much technical experts. So that's why informal communications or the collaboration is required. So XP establishes the effective metaphors for the communicating between different stakeholders, having important concepts and the continuous feedbacks from the customers, and the avoidance of the voluminous documentation as a communication medium. So XP model do not require any sort of the documentation. It uses informal verbal communication for different stakeholders. Next value is the simplicity. So to achieve the simplicity, XP restricts developers to designs only for immediate needs rather than consider future needs. So XP models uses simplicity in the design as well, so that the immediate needs can be fulfilled, and XP model do not think about in the future needs. Simplicity creates simple design that can be easily implemented in the code. So mostly XP models focuses on the simplicity because the thing which is very much simple can be also very much easy to be implemented. So if the design must be improved, it can be refactored easily. So that's why the simplicity produces the refactoring, and refactoring means that we can divide the design into multiple modules, and these modules may be independent and mostly they should be independent. So they cannot be dependent and mostly they may be independent from each other. Next one is the feedback. So XP model also utilizes a very strong concepts of the feedback. Feedback can be taken from the implemented softwares, that is the product itself, and the customers, the customer who want to buy the software or uses the software, and other software development members which are the part of our team. So XP makes use of the unit test as a primary testing strategies. So in the XP model, we develop the softwares into unit by unit, and then we also test the software into the units. And each class is developed, then the team developers are a unit test to exercise each operation according to its specific functionalities. So when that a unit is developed, then each and every unit is tested isolatedly here. As in increments is derived to a customers, the user stories or use cases that are implemented by the increments are used as a basis for the acceptance test. So basically all the user stories are the use cases which are the part of the SRS. They act as an acceptance test for the developers. The degree to which the software implements the output function and the behavior of the use case is a form of the feedback. So all the input, output, and the functionality and the behavior of the system, they act as a feedback to the developers. Finally, the team provides the customers with a rapid feedback regarding cost and schedule impacts. So all the team who are developing the softwares, they provide the good feedbacks to the customer about the cost and schedule of the product. The next one is the courage. Courage means that the discipline. So Beck argues that strict adherence to a certain XP practices demands for the courage, and the courage is the discipline. So all the team members and all the other stakeholders must have to follow the discipline for the development, so that the best software should be developed. The most software teams urge that the designing for tomorrow will be save times and efforts in the long run. So an agile XP teams must have to discipline, that is the courage to design for today only, and they are not thinking for the tomorrow. So recognizing that the future requirement may be changed dramatically, so therefore demanding substantial reverse of the design and implemented code. So that's why XP model focuses only on the today's needs of the customers. They do not think about the tomorrow needs of the customers. So that's why they give us very efficient software development. The next one is the respect. So each and every member in the agile software development team, they have their respects among its members. So that means that the stakeholders and the team members are indirectly for the software itself. They keeps the respects for each other. As they achieve successful delivery of the software elements, the team develops growing respect for the XP process. Now we are here discussing the XP process here in this topics. Now we are going to explain the XP process model. Basically, the extreme programming process model utilizes the object-oriented approach, which is preferred development paradigm and encompasses a set of rules and practices which can occur within the context of the 4 frameworks activities, which includes the planning, designs, coding, and testing. So all the XP process model, they have to pass from the planning, designing, coding, and testing phase of the extreme programming process model. Now this is the diagrammatical representation of the XP process model. First we have the planning, and then we have designing, coding and testing, and after testing we have the release phase. And all these 5 phases are in fact conducted in the iterative fashion. First we have the planning. In the planning we takes the user stories, values, acceptance and test criteria and the iteration plan to develop the plan. This is the responsibility of the project manager to create different plans. Here the user stories and values and acceptance test criteria and iteration plan means that the project manager is responsible to elicit all sort of the requirements from the customers. Then they create the acceptance test criteria for the product, and at the end they have the iteration plan. Iteration plan means that how many iterations of the loop should be performed for the development, and in each and every iteration we create a new prototype. Next one is the design. In the design we create simple design CRC card and spike solution prototypes. The CRC is class responsibility collaboration cards, which includes the classes and their relationship among the classes, and every classes have the data members and member function which are important for the development. So here the object-oriented methodology is used to design the software, and then we also design the solution or the prototype of the product. Next, then we perform the coding. Here the pair programming is performed. Pair programming means that at one time two programmers perform the code simultaneously, while one performs the coding and the second programmer reviews the code of the first programmer. That way we can create a very good and high quality coding. So that coding is very much efficient and very much of the high standards. And after the implementation we perform test. Here we perform the unit testing, continuous integration test and the acceptance testing. So after programming we perform the testing so that the system is coping with the SRS or not. Now in the coding section we perform refactoring. Refactoring means we divide a system into multiple modules so that we can divide the designs into multiple sub-modules, and each and every module should be developed isolatedly. So after testing we releases the software to the market. By releasing the software means that the software increments are the project velocity completed, then the software is launched into the market. So when the software is completed, then the software is launched into the market. If the software is incomplete, then we perform another iteration of this extreme programming process model. Now what is the XP applicability? The general characteristics where XP is appropriate were described by the Don Wells. So dynamically changing software requirements, then XP model is very much suitable. So when frequently the requirements of the customer are changed, then the XP model is very much best. Next one, risk caused by the fixed time projects using new technology. So when there are very much risky projects, then XP is very much suitable to be chosen for the development, because there are multiple iterations and there is the initially the project manager has to make different sort of the planning. So that's why here the risk management should be performed in the first phase of the planning of the XP model. Next one, small co-located extended development team should use XP application. Basically XP model is required for the small co-located development teams. So the small teams uses the pair programming to develop the softwares, and the co-located means that different programmer pairs are located on the same disk. So that's why the XP model is here suitable. The next one is the technology you are using allows for the automated unit and functional testing. So when we uses the technology for the unit testing, and that technology is acted as an automated fashion, and the functional testing is also performed in an automated way, so then the XP model is very much best. Now XP practices. So where we can use the XP model. So XP model is used in the planning the game. Planning the game means we create the game for uh, for business, and we create the game for market value. So here we create the game to get the more and more value of the market. Then XP model is the best. And when we want to release our product into small releases, then XP is the best. And we want to design the software's metaphors very much beautifully, then the XP model is best. Metaphor means different graphics used to develop the GUI. Simple design. When we want to keep the design simple, then XP is the best here. Because XP model utilizes the object-oriented approach, so that's why XP model is best here. Next one is testing. If we want to do or we want to conduct the exhaustive testing, then the XP model is very much best to be used. If you want to use a refactoring so that we can divide our module into multiple submodules, then the XP model is best to be utilized. Next one is the pair programming. If you want to perform the program or the implementation into the pairs, that one programmer should do the development and another programmer should review the development, then the pair programming should be used. And the XP focuses on the pair programming. Collective ownership. Collective ownership means that if we want to own our full products, then XP model is best. Means that if we have full control over the project, then XP model is best here. Continuous integration. If we want to integrate the module continuously, then XP model is the best here. If we want to perform the 40 hours weeks, 40-hour weeks in 1 week, we get the maximum weeks of hours, then XP is the best here. 40-hour weeks means 40 hours time required to development. So by this means the efficient development is performed on-site customer. If the customer is co-located into the development organization, or he or she is very near to the development organization, then the XP model is the best. Coding standard. XP model utilizes the object-oriented approach, which uses the high coding standards, so that's why XP model is the best here for the coding standard. Dear student, this is the end of the lecture. I have taken all these materials from 2 different books. The first one is Software Engineering by Ein Sommerweil's 8th edition, and the second one is Software Engineering, A Practitioner's Approach by Dr. Roger S. Pressman, 8th edition. If you have any question, you can drop an email at my ID. My ID is m.kadim@kust20201, and I will welcome your questions. Thank you very much for listening.